Good morning, Dolphins. It's time for our math lesson for today, Friday, April 17th. Today, we're going to be working on how to model decimals and fractions. We're going to be working out of the My Math book, pages 651 to 654, so that you can get your books ready for the recording. So I have our strategy chart posted here, and I'm going to go ahead and start to model this for you. Okay, so the first question that I have here is how do we represent 3 out of 10? Okay, so we can represent it in 4 different ways. Okay, so the first way that we can represent it is a model. So we can, out of the 10 parts in the model, we can shade 3 of those. 1, 2, and 3 out of 10, right? All right, now we can also represent this on a place value chart. So we have 0 ones because there are no parts of the model, no whole parts of the model shaded. And then we have 1, 2, 3 tenths shaded. And then there's no hundredths, so we can leave that one blank, or we could put a 0, okay? As a decimal, we can write that as 0.3, okay? Just like it is on our place value chart. And as a fraction, the numerator is 3 because there are 3 parts shaded out of 10 parts, so the denominator is 10 because there are 10 total parts in our model, okay? So we can represent 3 out of 10 with our model, with our place value chart, as a decimal, and also as a fraction. Now, I want to show you how we can represent hundredths. We're still going to use a model, a place value chart, a decimal, and a fraction, okay? So in our model, I'm going to represent 27 out of 100, okay? So for the 27, for the 20, each one of these is worth 10, right? So I'm shading in 10, and then 20. And then I just need 7 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay? Now on our place value chart, I have 0 ones because I don't have any whole models shaded. I have 2 tenths because there's 1, 2 whole tenths shaded, and then I have 7 hundredths shaded, okay? So in our place value chart, and then we have our decimal, 0 ones, 2 tenths, and 7 hundredths. So that's 27 hundredths as a decimal. And as a fraction, I have 27 as my numerator because I have 27 shaded out of 100 in the whole. So the denominator is 100. So I can represent 27 out of 100 with the model, with the place value chart, as the decimal 27 hundredths, and as the fraction 27 hundredths. Okay. I have a question here. Does 2 tenths equal 20 hundredths? So let's take a look at our model to see. Okay, so if I have 2 tenths, then what I'm going to do is shade 1, 2 tenths. Okay, and if I have 20 hundredths, then I'm going to shade this whole column is 10. And then this whole column is also 10. So I shaded 2 columns here. I also shaded 2 columns here because in each column there are 10 hundredths. So that means that 2/10 is equivalent to 20 hundredths because they both are the same amount. They have the same value when we put them in a model. Okay, 2/10 equals 20 hundredths. All right, so now I'm going to take us over to our book work. We have our page 651. So it says you can write a decimal as a fraction. Both a decimal and a fraction show a part of the whole. So write 4/10 as a fraction with a denominator of 10. So first, we're going to write the decimal in a place value chart. So it's 0 wholes, and then there's 4/10, and then there's 0 hundredths. All right, so 0.4 means 4/10. Now we're going to shade the grid to represent 4/10. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4/10. Okay. Now I'm going to write it as a fraction. So the number of shaded parts that I have is 4 out of 10 parts. So as a fraction, it's 4/10. So what that means is the decimal 4/10 is the same as 4/10 as a fraction. And we can also check that it's the same on a number line. So I have 4/10 on the number line, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4 parts out of 10 parts in the number line. So it's equivalent as a fraction and a decimal. Okay, let's turn to page 652. 652 says write 45 hundredths as a fraction with a denominator of 100. Use a number line. So here we have our number line. We've got 40 hundredths and we've got 50 hundredths, and right in the middle of that is going to be the decimal 45 hundredths. And as a fraction, it's going to be right in the middle between 40 hundredths and 50 hundredths. So that will be 45 hundredths. So as a fraction, the decimal 45 hundredths can be written with 45 as the numerator and 100 as the denominator. All right. So it says talk about it. Shade the models below to show how 7/10 and 70 hundredths are equivalent. So if I have 7/10, then I'm going to shade 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Okay. And then for the hundredths, each one of these is worth, each column is worth 10 hundredths. So I'm going to shade here 10, and then 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then 70. And when I look here, in the first model, I shaded 7 out of 10. And here I also shaded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 columns, which are 10 hundredths in each one. So that means that 7/10 and 70 hundredths are equivalent. Now it says write 2 fractions that represent the models in exercise 1. So this fraction, I have 7 parts shaded out of 10 parts. In this one, I have 70 parts shaded out of 100 parts. So the fraction is 70 hundredths. Okay, so 7/10 represents this model, 70 hundredths represents that model, and they are also equivalent because they represent the same amount. All right, mathematical practice. Draw a conclusion. Explain how you could write 9/10 as a fraction with a denominator of 100 without using models. Okay, well, I know that, there are 10 hundredths in each column. So 9 times 10 is 90. So it equals, 90 hundredths. Okay. So you could say it in different words than this, but what that means is if I were to represent 9/10 on a 10th diagram like this, I would shade in 9 columns, right? And if I shaded in 9 columns on a hundredths chart, there would be 10 in each one. So I would count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 if I were doing it from a hundreds chart, right? 9 times 10 is 90. All right. Explain how you could write 78 hundredths as a fraction with a denominator of 100 without using models. Well, what I would do is I would write 78 as the numerator, and the denominator is 100, because 78 parts would be the numerator, and then out of 100 parts would be the denominator. So it would be 78 hundredths. All right. Oops, it looks like 70. 78 hundredths. Okay. So let me, all right, so you are going to complete the rest of the pages, 651 to 654 on your own, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.